Before this video starts, please note that this patch analysis is from the day 1 patch and may not reflect the current state of the game if future changes are made. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you all enjoy the video. Hi everyone! Okay, can I just start off by saying, holy shit, what the fuck? We haven't had a big update in a while, and this patch was well worth the wait. I don't even want to title this video an update week video just because it shakes up the game so much. There's so much to cover, and it's such a huge patch, I just want to get straight into it. You can tell I'm really excited about this. In this week's patch, get this, we've got brand new legendary Pokemon, Gen 7 Pokemon, swarm changes, Mega Stones, an altering cave rework, changes to shiny Pokemon, crafting, and so much more. So let's not waste any more time. Let's go over this week's patch notes. Today is the 18th of June, however this video is gonna come out late because I have to take time to edit. Like, obviously, this patch is huge. Today's patch comes from Anub. Side note, I did get a PM from him. He says, the fans demand a video, they refuse to read my patch notes. You know what, he's kinda got a point. I mean, why are you sitting here and letting me explain the patches for you? Go read them yourself. I don't even know why I do. Sorry about that. I just thought the PM was funny. Thank you, Anub, I appreciate it. Also, yes, they should go read the patch notes. I don't know why they're not, but whatever. Moving on. This patch includes a whopping 8 big changes and a lot of small changes. As always, you can view the full patch notes by clicking the first link in the description. First, oh my god, I don't even know where to start. How about legendary Pokemon? All of the missing legendary Pokemon have been added into the game in one way or another. This includes Mewtwo, Hoenn Lugia, Groudon, Kyogre, Rayquaza, Dialga, Palkia, another spawn for Giratina, Arceus, Zekrom, Reshiram, Genesect, Diancie, and Cosmog. There have also been a lot of new legendary Pokemon added into the prize shops, but I'll go over that once we get to the actual prize shop changes. Unlike any of the other legendary Pokemon you can encounter, you need to have a specific item in your inventory to encounter these new ones. Apparently, you don't need a Pokemon to hold the item, you just need to have it in your inventory. However, these new items are absurdly hard to obtain, which cements these legendaries as strictly endgame legendaries. This also kind of goes into the new crafting changes, which are basically just you can now stack items and you'll get a small warning before crafting an untradeable item. Most of these legendary items are going to need 9 different items, with varying quantities of said items needed to craft it. The items you need to obtain in order to craft these new legendary items range anywhere from like evolution stones and EV resets to Mega Stones and other legendary items. These legendary Pokemon have been added to newly tweaked areas that already exist in the game. For example, Groudon and Kyogre have been added to the Cave of Origin, which was already a pre-existing area just with a brand new spawn set, so I'll be going over the various map drops and spawn set changes as well. They also have been given a wild Pokemon stat increase, similar to Ancient Dungeon. We've actually got fully detailed information on each separate stat boost for each different area. These new areas also have new entry requirements, which can range from stuff like a certain dex total to a certain mining or fishing level. There are also only a specific set of Pokemon that you can use that will actually get a stat boost in that specific area. So you probably won't be able to run around with a Deoxys like you could in Ancient Dungeon. Believe me, I tried it, and it was scary. Also, I think this just goes without saying that I have no idea what any of the strats are for grinding in these areas. This patch just came out on the day I'm recording this, and it's going to take a while for people to figure stuff out. If you want to go check out the legendary Pokemon's movesets, it's in the patch notes linked in the description. So first is Mewtwo. Remember this asshole? He's finally gone, and you can now go down the ladder. Well, sort of. You can only enter Mewtwo's lair if you have 600 caught entries in your Pokedex. Additionally, you'll get a stat boost on the map if you use a Generation 1 Pokemon or their evolutions. This applies to both normal and Alolan forms of Kanto Pokemon. Yes,
I know Alolan Pokemon are now in the game, we'll get to that later, it's just there's so much to cover and it all overlaps, you just gotta bear with me. This also applies to a few evolutions of Pokemon outside of Generation 1. For example, Magnezone wasn't available until Gen 4, but you're able to use it here, things like that. This also applies the other way around for a lot of these areas, like for instance, you can still use Raichu in a Johto legendary area because its pre-evolution Pichu was introduced in Generation 2. So while you can run around and use a Deoxys in these areas, you won't be getting a stat boost. Unless you're in the Hoenn ones. And trust me, you'll need that stat boost. My first experience in Mewtwo's lair was insanity. Choice Specs, Dark Aura, Mild Nature, Yveltal barely did half HP to a wild Pokemon. I think just as a whole, I won't be covering each individual stat boost for each individual area because that would take forever, but just know that each stat boost hovers around the 1.33 to 2 times range for each area. You can go check out each specific stat boost by checking the patch notes for yourself. TLDR, wild Pokemon in these areas have a permanent stat boost, but your own Pokemon can get a stat boost as well if it's a Pokemon within that specific generation or an evolution of one. This applies to all the maps that I'll be talking about from here on out. I hope that kind of clears up everything on that front. Anyways, Mewtwo's lair has level 100 wild Pokemon which give out 50% more money. There's also no running from wild Pokemon, and this area also contains 15 lava rocks and 18 dark rocks. You can still enter this area without being able to encounter Mewtwo, but if you actually do want to encounter Mewtwo, you'll need a specific item. That would be the legendary map. This legendary map is crafted by combining an old sea map, an enhanced feather of Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres, 5 King's Rocks, 2 Razor Claws, 150 EV resets, one of these specific Mega Stones, and 20 Shiny Orbs. Yes, I know Shiny Orbs are a new thing too, we'll get to that later. Once you craft the legendary map and have it in your inventory, you'll now have the chance of encountering Mewtwo. Additionally, Mewtwo's lair has a 1 in 50,000 chance to drop one of the 2 Mewtwo Knights. Which one you get is random, you'll either get Mewtwo Knight X or Mewtwo Knight Y, depending on, well, just how lucky you get, but you can get both of them. So yes, after all these years of waiting, we've finally gotten a Mewtwo spawn. It's just really hard to get. Next is Lugia, which can be found on B3 of the Whirl Islands. In order to enter this map, you'll need to have 600 Pokemon caught in your Pokedex. The wild Pokemon are level 100 and give out 50% more money, but you can't run from them. Additionally, you can fish here, but you'll need to be fishing level 100 in order to do so. This map also has a 1 in 50,000 chance to drop the Tyranitarite. Standard Mega drop rates and rules apply here. In order to encounter Lugia, you'll need the Silver Feather in your inventory. This feather can be crafted by combining an enhanced feather of Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres, 10 Dawn Stones, 10 Dusk Stones, 10 Shiny Stones, 2 Soothe Bells, 150 EV resets, and 20 Shiny Orbs. Obviously, the next one is Ho-Oh, which is one of my favorite legendaries ever, so I'm really excited to go hunt this one. Ho-Oh can be found on the Tin Tower roof, which is in Acuity City. You'll need to have 600 caught Pokemon in your Pokedex in order to enter this map. Wild Pokemon are level 100 and give out 50% more money, but you can't run from them. This map also has a 1 in 50,000 chance to drop the Tyranitarite. Standard Megastone drop rates and rules apply here. In order to encounter Ho-Oh, you'll need a Rainbow Stone in your inventory. This stone can be crafted by combining an enhanced Thunderstone, Firestone, and Waterstone, 1 Ami Stone, 5 Moss Rocks, 5 Ice Rocks, 10 Moonstones, 20 Sunstones, and 20 Shiny Orbs. Once you have the Rainbow Stone in your inventory, you'll be able to encounter Ho-Oh. This'll definitely be the first one I'll be going for. Next are the Hoenn legendaries, Groudon, Kyogre, and Rayquaza. Both Groudon and Kyogre go together in one map, while Rayquaza can be found elsewhere. Groudon and Kyogre can be found in the Cave of Origin in Sootopolis City. Groudon can be found on land, while Kyogre can be found while surfing and fishing. Though, like always, you'll need a specific item in your inventory in order to encounter these. In order to access the Cave of Origin, you must be both level 100 fishing and level 100 mining. This map has level 100 Pokemon and a 50% money boost, but you won't be able to run from Pokemon. There's also a 1 in 50,000 chance to hit a drop rate for either the red orb or blue orb. Also, yes, this does mean that both primal revisions are in the game. In order to encounter Groudon or Kyogre, you'll need one of 2 items depending on which one you're going for. If you want Groudon, you'll need the Team Magma Totem. This can be crafted by combining an Enhanced Soul Shard, one of these specific Mega Stones, 3 Magmarizers, 3 Protectors, 2 Razor Fangs, 150 EV resets, 10 Firestones, 20 Sunstones, and 20 Shiny Orbs. Once you have that in your inventory, you'll be able to encounter Groudon. If you want Kyogre instead, you'll need the Team Aqua Totem. This can be crafted by combining an Enhanced Soul Shard, one of these specific Mega Stones, 3 Surfboards, 3 Deep Sea Scales, 3 Deep Sea Tooths, 3 Prism Scales, 150 EV resets, 25 Water Stones, and 20 Shiny Orbs. Once you have that in your inventory, you'll be able to encounter Kyogre. The next one is, of course, Rayquaza. Rayquaza can be encountered at Sky Pillar on Route 129. You need to have 600 caught Pokemon in your Pokedex in order to enter this map. Wild Pokemon are level 100, give out 50% more money, and you can't run here. This map also has a 1 in 50,000 chance to drop the Salamence. Standard Megastone drop rates and rules still apply here. In order to encounter Rayquaza, you'll need the Delta Orb. This can be crafted by combining an Enhanced Soul Shard, both the red and blue orbs, one of these specific Megastones, 150 EV resets, 5 Dragon Scales, 2 Muscle Bands, 2 Wise Glasses, and 20 Shiny Orbs. Once you have that in your inventory, you'll be able to encounter Rayquaza. Next are the Sinnoh legendaries: Dialga, Palkia, Giratina, and Arceus. These can all be found in relatively close proximity to each other, all being found by talking to Cynthia at Spear Pillar and getting taken to their respective areas. Let's start with Dialga. Dialga can be encountered at Spear Pillar time, which can be accessed by talking to Cynthia on the regular Spear Pillar map. You need to have 600 caught Pokemon in your Pokedex in order to enter this map. Wild Pokemon are level 100, give out 50% more money, and you can't run here. There's also a few mineable rocks here, with 21 Pails, 26 Lavas, and 27 Darks. Additionally, this map has a 1 in 33,000 chance to drop the Adamant Orb. This drop rate is fixed, meaning that it can't change. In order to encounter Dialga, you'll need an Adamant Fragment, which can be crafted by combining one of these specific Megastones, 3 Metal Coats, 10 Steel Wire, 5 Dragon Scales, 150 EV resets, 2 Muscle Bands, 5 Lagging Tails, 5 Cornet Rocks, and 20 Shiny Orbs. Once you have the Adamant Fragment in your inventory, you'll be able to encounter Dialga. Next is Palkia, which can be encountered at Spear Pillar Space, which can be accessed by talking to Cynthia on the regular Spear Pillar map. You need to have 600 caught Pokemon in your Pokedex in order to enter this map. This is pretty much just a carbon copy of the time map, so it's got all the same properties. Additionally, this map has a 1 in 33,000 chance to drop the Lustrous Orb. This drop rate is fixed, meaning that it can't change. In order to encounter Palkia, you'll need a Lustrous Fragment. This can be crafted by combining one of these specific Megastones, 5 Dragon Scales, 3 Prism Scales, 150 EV resets, 2 Wise Glasses, 5 Lagging Tails, 5 Cornet Rocks, 25 Water Stones, and 20 Shiny Orbs. Once you have the Lustrous Fragment in your inventory, you'll be able to encounter Palkia. Giratina is obviously up next, and Giratina was already in the game at first, but it's now been given a permanent encounter area instead of just being an event exclusive. You can access the Distortion World by talking to Cynthia at Spear Pillar. You need to have 600 caught Pokemon in your Pokedex in order to enter this map.
This is, again, a carbon copy of the time and space maps, so it's got all the same properties. Additionally, this map has a 1 in 33,000 chance to drop the Greasiest Orb. This drop rate is fixed, and yes, this does mean that Origin Form Giratina is in the game now. In order to encounter Giratina, you'll need a Greasiest Fragment. This can be crafted by combining one of these specific Mega Stones, 3 Reaper Cloths, 5 Cornet Rocks, 2 Rocky Helmets, 5 Lagging Tails, 10 Dusk Stones, 10 Moonstones, 150 EV resets, and 20 shiny orbs. Once you have the Greasiest Fragment in your inventory, you'll be able to encounter Giratina. Arceus is the last of the Sinnoh legends. I mean, I guess it's technically a mythical. I guess by PokeNexus standards, it's still legend. It's a 1 in 125k, that's a legendary. Anyways, you can encounter Arceus in the Purified World, which can be accessed by talking to Cynthia at Spear Pillar. You need to have 600 caught Pokemon in your Pokedex in order to enter this map. This is, once again, a carbon copy of the previous Spear Pillar variants, so it's got all the same properties. Additionally, this map has a 1 in 20,000 chance to drop one of the 17 type-based plates that can change Arceus's form. I think? Unless they added in the blank plate from Legends Arceus, but I doubt it. I think it's only just the Gen 4 ones. This drop rate is fixed. In order to encounter Arceus, you need the Azure Flute. This can be crafted by combining an Adamant, Lustrous, and Greasiest Orb, the Halo decorative item, the Angel Wings decorative item, 150 EV resets, 20 Leaf Stones, 20 EXP shares, and 20 shiny orbs. Once you have the Azure Flute in your inventory, you'll be able to encounter Arceus. Now we move on to the Unova Legends. Zekrom can be found on the first floor of Dragon Spiral Tower. You need to have 600 caught Pokemon in your Pokedex in order to enter this map. The wild Pokemon are level 100, give out 50% more money, but you can't run here. You can also fish here if you're level 100, but I don't necessarily recommend it since you can't fish for Zekrom. Additionally, this map has a 1 in 50,000 chance to drop the Altaria Knight. Standard Megastone drop rates and rules apply here. In order to encounter Zekrom, you'll need the Black Sphere. This can be crafted by combining an enhanced Thunderstone, 20 regular Thunderstones, 3 Electorizers, 150 EV resets, 10 Light Balls, and 300 Lure, Moon, Dive, and Net Balls. Once you have the Black Sphere in your inventory, you'll be able to encounter Zekrom. Reshiram can be found just upstairs on the second floor of Dragon Spiral Tower. You need to have 600 caught Pokemon in your Pokedex in order to enter this map. The wild Pokemon are level 100, give out 50% more money, but you can't run here. Additionally, this map has a 1 in 50,000 chance to drop the Altaria Knight. Standard Megastone drop rates and rules apply here. In order to encounter Reshiram, you'll need the White Sphere. This can be crafted by combining an enhanced Firestone, 20 regular Firestones, 3 Magmarizers, 150 EV resets, and 300 Nest, Repeat, Fast, Level, and Quick Balls. Once you have the White Sphere in your inventory, you'll be able to encounter Reshiram. So the rest of the legendaries that were added in are new additions to existing maps without much change. Aside from one exception, but we'll get to that later, so let's start with Genesect. Genesect is able to be encountered either in the central room of Mossy Cave, or in Ancient Cave R5. In order to be able to encounter Genesect, you need the Paleozoic Tracker, which is a new item. It's crafted by combining one of these specific Megastones and 100 Claw, Root, Armor, Skull, Cover, Plume, Jaw, and Sail Shards. Once you have the Paleozoic Tracker in your inventory, you'll be able to encounter Genesect in these areas. Lastly is Cosmog, which has been added to Ancient Dungeon. Now you might be asking yourself, wait, isn't Regigigas the legendary there? Well, yes, it was. Regigigas has now been moved to the regular Ancient Cave map right outside of Ancient Dungeon. Additionally, and surprisingly, the Ultra Beasts have been added into Ancient Dungeon as extremely rares. It's also had a pretty drastic spawn set change. Like, I don't think you're supposed to use Deoxys anymore. I actually had a much better time using Flail Slacking, which is crazy to think about. Of course, not to suggest that flail slacking is good in Ancient Dungeon though, the area still needs to be tested a little bit more before the community suggests a good Pokemon. Hi there, this is Andrew from the future. So they did put out the post-release patch where they did change up the Ancient Dungeon spawns, and now it's looking like Deoxys is going to be, back to being, you know, an actually good Pokemon to grinding because they removed Toucannon and replaced it with Gyarados instead. Also, they did a little bit of a smaller update. It was mostly just bug fixes, but they did add in a new quality of life feature where you can change your Pokemon's moves outside of a Poke Center, which I think is pretty cool. Anyways, I hope you're enjoying the video. Let's get back to it. And that's all the legendaries that have been added in this patch that are encounterable, aside from one I'll talk about later. Several new legendaries have been added to different prize shops throughout the game, and some existing legendaries have had their prices reduced. Though, due to the introduction of a brand new shop, I'll be covering all of those later in the video. Overall, I think I can speak for most players when I say I'm super glad they're putting these legendaries in. Obviously, they're insanely hard to obtain, but at least they're actually an option in the game. Also, I think it's really interesting that most of the items need EV resets and evolution stones. This is probably their way to try to make these items more valuable because, seriously, I have like 600 EV resets, it's crazy. But again, I really love the fact that they're putting in all these new legendary Pokemon. Next, and I've got some great news for you Alola fans, the entire Gen 7 Dex has been added to the game. This includes all Alola Pokemon, Alolan forms, and legendaries. This gives you a lot more team options, especially in the early game, so they're an incredibly welcome addition. I loved Sun and Moon when they came out, and I really liked the Dex, so I'm glad to see they've added it. Along with this, there have also been a plethora of new spawn changes on regular routes that include the new Gen 7 Pokemon. There's obviously way too many spawn changes for me to list, so you can go check out the full list by yourself by clicking the first link in the description. You now also have the option to pick up Rowlet, Litten, and Poplio as a starter choice from Professor Oak. You can also roll them from the starter Pokemon box with the chance of getting the corresponding onesie. Next, a brand new shop has been added. The Shiny Merchant is an NPC in the fight area that will give you items and Pokemon in exchange for Shiny Orbs. You can get Shiny Orbs by releasing Shiny Pokemon. Now, of course, you might be asking yourself, why the hell would anyone release a Shiny Pokemon? Aren't they supposed to be special and rare? Well, yes. But actually, no. When you're grinding in a specific area for long periods of time, you tend to get an insane amount of duplicate shinies that literally no one uses. Hell, I even started killing half the shinies that I encountered just because I had no use for them at all. People reacted. Go f yourself. Go away. However, now, if you catch and release them, you can actually get some profit towards something useful rather than that random shiny Magikarp you just fished up and have no use for. Depending on the rarity of the Pokemon, you'll get a certain amount of shiny orbs for releasing it. I should note though that it's based off their most common rarity. So for example, if you catch an uncommon shiny Metapod, since Caterpie is a common, you'll get the amount of orbs that you'll get for releasing commons. These shiny orbs, as you can probably tell, are also used in a lot of crafting recipes for legendary Pokemon items. These are definitely going to be pretty sought after as you can roll some pretty good legendaries from the shop and get some great Mega Stones. The shop pretty much has all items for legendaries to change forms, so you've got like your Ensolarizer and Lunarizer, your black and white DNA splicers for black and white Kyurem, prison bottle for Hoopa, you get it. This shop is also where you can get the starter Mega Stones, which includes the Kanto Trio and the Hoenn Trio. And of course, they've also added legendaries. The Genies, the Tapus, and Magearna have all been added to the Shiny Merchant shop. The Genies and Tapus are 400 orbs, while Magearna is 250. Also, they added Larvitar to the shop for 200. So you know I'm getting my pseudo achievement soon, because Claim Wars fucking suck! Alright, so I don't know if this is gonna go in the video, but I just released pretty much all of the shiny Pokemon that I wanted to get rid of, and I'm at 241, which is 9 off of Magearna. I kinda want that Magearna. So what I'm thinking, I know that I got this at one point. And this thing is great. You know, it's an event exclusive. It's a shiny. It was really cool to get this on stream. But I'm just thinking that I kind of want to roll it, and I kind of want to just... I'm gonna do it. Okay, 18 shiny orbs. What is Magearna's best nature? Sassy, calm, modest. Okay, so we can do a lot of stuff. Okay, quiet. Wow, there's a lot. Wait, you can get the Pokeball print on it? That's cool. I think I'm gonna go for calm. All right, so what have we got? Magearna. Go nuts. Hey, that was one of the good ones. That was one of the good ones. It's not gonna be a banger video. This has taken me an unbelievably long amount of time to script it and edit it and put it together. I don't know, man. Anyways, back to whatever I was saying. I guess. I don't know when I'm gonna put this in the video. But overall, I really love that they've added this shop in. It gives value to otherwise useless Pokemon, and they've given us an opportunity to roll a few legends in the process. The only drawback is that we've got to deal with Landorus Therian in PvP. I hate this thing. Anyways, branching off of the new shop, we've got some existing shops that have had drastic changes to them in the form of new Pokemon and Megastones being added. First, let's start with the Elite Shop. Necrozma has been added for 450 Elite tokens, and Zeraora for 300. Additionally, the Banatite, Galalitite, Abomasite, Heracronite, and Gengarite have all been added for 75 tokens each. The Aggronite has also been lowered to 75 as well to match the other Megastones. This is great since there weren't a lot of solid rewards from the Elite Shop, and I'm glad that some better rewards have been added. No offense to Virizion. Next is the Philanthropist Shop, which has seen the addition of Marshadow for 200,000 Philanthropist points, and Type Null for 10k. Similarly, all the memory items for Type Null have been added for 1000 PP each. Pretty good stuff, and I really like Marshadow, so that's awesome. The casino has had some extra changes as well. The Lucario Knight has been added for 100k tokens, and both the Galadite and the Sable Knight have been reduced to 100k as well to match it. And the big one, Froakie has been removed from the shop, and you can now encounter Froakie in Mossy Cave Water Cavern. That's right, everybody, we did it, we finally freaking... In place of this, however, we've now gotten the option to purchase a Battle Bond Greninja instead for 250k tokens. You cannot get a Greninja with Battle Bond anywhere else, and from what I remember, Battle Bond Greninja was really broken in Gen 7, so it's definitely going to be a worthwhile prize. Next is the Battle Queue, and they've just added a bunch of stuff in there. All 4 Terrain Seeds have been added for 150 CP, the Mental Herb for 200, Iron Ball for 150, and the Terrain Extender for 300. They've now also added the Metachamite for 2.5k CP, and the Altaria Knight for 2k CP. Otherwise, the rest is just Pokemon. So let's just go down the list. They've added Landorus, Tornadus, Thundurus, Tapu Lele, Tapu Koko, Tapu Bulu, Tapu Fini, Zeraora, Nihilego, Buzzwole, Pheromosa, Xurkitree, Celesteela, Kartana, Guzzlord, Poipole, Stakataka, Blacephalon, Jangmo-O, and Mimikyu. They've also reduced Victini's price from 7k CP to 3.5k CP, which is just crazy to think about. And they reduced Terrakion's price from 6k CP to 5k CP. As for the PvP shop, they've added and reduced a couple things as well. The Genies and Tapus have been added, all for 5,000 PvP tokens. Hoenn's price has been reduced to 1,250 tokens, and both the Kangaskhanite and Scissorite have been reduced to 1,500 tokens. And lastly, the Clan Wars shop, which added the Genies and Tapus for 4,000 each. The Latiasite and Latiosite have also been added, meaning that you can now use Mega Latias and Mega Latios. Additionally, Kyurem has been reduced to 2.5k tokens, Larvitar has gone down to 1,250 tokens, the Lopunite has been reduced to 1.5k tokens, and the Leftovers has been reduced to 300. You already know what I think of these patches. I think it's great to have several options of getting the same Pokemon. That's freaking awesome. Plus, it'll make it a lot easier to get certain Pokemon like Hoenn. Or will it? See, they've also changed up how you get tokens from PvP activities. It used to be that you could just go into a tournament or clan wars, lose a couple times, and come out with some participation tokens. Now you need to win at least one round to get any sort of reward, but the rewards have been increased a lot. So unfortunately for us PvE players, we won't be getting any PvP rewards anytime soon. Now we're going to move on to another big change, which was advertised beforehand, the Altering Cave rework. So first things first, the Altering Cave ticket has been reduced from 600k to 400k. This is great as, well, I mean, it's cheaper. I don't really know what else I have to explain. Altering Cave is also now a no-run area, meaning that you won't be able to run from any wild Pokemon while you're in there. I personally never really ran from anything here anyway, since I thought the drops were too good to pass up, so I don't really think this will affect much. All Pokemon in the cave will now always be level 100, will have a 10% increased shiny chance, and will have a 30% increased encounter rate. The zero money drop remains unchanged, however. The big thing though is the addition of Diancie to the spawn set of Altering Cave. And it's permanent too. If you're grinding on land, you will always have a chance of encountering Diancie. Diancie will never go away regardless of what day it is. Additionally, there's now a 10% chance that another legendary Pokemon will spawn through either surfing or fishing encounters on a given day, similar to what we had before with the cave rotating legendaries. The fishing legendaries can be Articuno, Suicune, Mesprit, or Uxie, while the surfing legendaries can be Zapdos, Raikou, Latias, and Latios. And yes, you'll be happy to know that enhanced items do work in Altering Cave now, so that's great. They've also now added 3 Megastones that can exclusively drop in Altering Cave. These include the Diancite, the Gardevoirite, and the Mawilite, all at a 1 in 50k base drop chance. Standard Megastone rules and restrictions apply here. By the way, I don't know if you've noticed, but we've now got every single Megastone available in the game, so yes, a Megastone guide might be coming in the future. But not too soon though, because this patch basically made all of my guides outdated, so I've got to rework those ones too. Except for maybe the fishing one? I don't know. Anyways, one last thing, they've completely redone the Altering Cave spawns. This made the spawns a lot more favorable instead of getting the garbage ERs we used to, like, I don't know, what spawned there? Dusclops? Sure, he's trash. Sure. Anyways, I recommend going to check out the encounters that you can get there. You can even get some Alolan forms, which is really nice. And of course, you can't forget about my boy Gible. You ain't never taken him away from me. Overall, I think it's great that they've made Altering Cave a more enticing place to grind in, and I'm glad that it actually has its own legendary now. Next, we've got a pretty substantial tweak to how swarms work. Swarms used to work by selecting 2 Pokemon from the swarm table and putting them on a route for a couple hours with a slightly boosted encounter rate. Now, instead of 2 Pokemon being selected, they're now going to select... Wait, hold on a second. 1, 2, 3... 11 Pokemon in total, and throw them on a route for a couple hours so that you can encounter them. This will include 3 commons, 2 uncommons, 2 rares, 2 VRs, and 2 ERs during each swarm. You'll still see the swarm notification on the top left of your screen as always, but you'll now have to do the newly implemented /swarm command in order to see what's swarming at the time. Plus, you'll be able to see when it starts and ends, so that's always nice. They've also tweaked the encounter rates of Pokemon on the swarm route. Every Pokemon on the swarm route now has a 25% increased encounter rate, a 10% increased shiny chance, and gives out 25% more experience. Please note that these boosts only apply to land encounters. Like the Altering Cave change, they've now also changed the pool of Pokemon that can spawn as swarm Pokemon, which also includes some new Gen 7 Pokemon and some Alolan forms. I'd go check out the table yourself, there's some really interesting Pokemon you can get. I think it's really awesome that they've boosted not only the encounter rates, but the shiny rates and experience rates. There's also a high likelihood of it picking a starter Pokemon as a swarm Pokemon, so that's also really nice. And for the last big change in my opinion, they've added new crafting items and have done a couple extra changes to crafting as a whole. First, as I stated before, all items will now be stackable, meaning that you can put more than one item on the crafting interface.
And second, there will now be a small warning if you try to craft something untradeable. Other than those two, let's get into the new recipes. We've already gone over all of the new legendary items that you need to encounter certain legendary Pokemon, but we've got brand new items that will make grinding a lot easier. First is the Amnesia Potion, crafted with 1 potion and 3 EV resets. This will let a Pokemon forget an active move, so it's basically like a move deleter on the go. It's not gonna get rid of the move from your move bank though, just your active move set. This is going to help with strategies that use Last Resort. The Endurance Potion is crafted with 10 Super Potions and 10 EV resets. Using this on one of your Pokemon helps bring it down to 1 HP. Similarly, the Flawed Revive does the same thing but revives your Pokemon back up to 1 HP. These are crafted with 200 revives and 3 EV resets. Both of these items are going to help immensely during flail grinds. The Ultra Repel is a new tier of repel that lasts for 2,500 steps and is crafted by combining 100 max repels and an EV reset. There are several different quantities you can put this in, ranging from 10 to 250. You can also craft shiny orbs, but you have to get them from one of the mega stones that you get with the shiny orbs. I'm not sure why you would do this, but hey, I'm not one to judge. And lastly, there are just some generic potion and Pokeball upgrades if you want to get rid of all your excess Pokeballs or potions like I know you have. I mean, come on, I have a ton of them. So this marks the end of what is, in my opinion, the big changes of this patch. 8 total patches which have completely revolutionized the game seemingly overnight. But now we're going to head over to look at some of the smaller patches. First, while this change is not particularly small and I'm sure would be impacting the competitive scene a lot, it's smaller than the game-changing patches. The PvP scene has gone through a couple balance changes, banning certain legendaries and items from use. There's too many to list here, so if you want to check them out, I left the PvP changes as the second link in the description. Next are just some miscellaneous quality of life changes and some other balance changes. The Battle Queue leaderboard is now top 100 instead of top 200. Ghost-type Pokemon now have a 100% chance to run regardless of their held item. The Move Tutor, Move Relearner, Pre-Evo Tutor, and the Event Tutor have all been moved to the house in Vermilion City that has the Transfer Move Tutor. So they're now all in one location just for ease of access. Another Elite Shop access point has also been put outside of Blackthorn City's gym. Players can now run from any Elite Pokemon on any map, and can I just say, thank God, because there's one change that would have made Elite Pokemon so much tougher had this not been implemented. Honey has been reduced in price to 500 credits and will now give 700 PP when used. Similarly, the Shiny Lure has now been reduced to 750 credits and will now give 525 PP when used. Tournament prizes have been slightly changed, adding in a lot of Mega Stones, increasing some prizes exponentially, and removing a few others. You now also have a 1% chance to hit a jackpot while opening up a TM box, which will give you a TM bundle with a lot of different and useful TMs. There's a physical one, a special one, and a status one. Whichever one you get is random. A couple moves have been disabled completely in wild encounters where running is disabled. These include Circle Throw, Destiny Bond, Dragon Tail, Roar, Teleport, and Whirlwind. This was the change that would have screwed up the entire game had we not been able to run from Elite Pokemon, because Elites would be sweeping a lot of teams. Teleport is on a lot of grinding teams just for Elites. Overall though, the rest of it isn't too bad. They've also added a couple new requirements for players in order to access a couple features. First, you will not be able to encounter shiny Pokemon until you beat the Kanto Elite Four. Second, you won't be able to see treasure chests until you beat the Sinnoh Elite Four. And lastly, you won't be able to partake in tournaments, clan wars, or battle queue until you beat the Sinnoh Elite Four. Now, when you encounter a legendary, shiny, or extremely rare, you'll get a pop-up on screen before you can take further action. This is awesome because it stops clips like this from happening.
Shit, no! No! Oh my god.
And finally, players can now run from extremely rare Pokemon. A couple extra bug fixes, and that's it. Oh wait, and the login screen changed. And they wiped the global marketplace. This patch was huge. As a whole, this was exactly what the game needed. Players have been wanting megas and legendaries for years, and it's so nice to see them finally in the game as a whole. The altering cave rework is nice, and I really like the addition of the shiny merchant. They took a lot of creative liberties with solving common player problems like having too many EV resets or Evo stones, and just made them work in a whole different way. As always, I asked you all in my community tab whether or not you liked this patch. The community reaction seems to be mostly positive, which is awesome. Let me know what you think of this patch down in the comments below. I really hope you enjoyed this video because it took me a while to put together, especially on a tight schedule. And as you can tell, my voice is kind of shot right now, so I'm not doing too hot. I've been recording for 2.5 hours. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace. Also, yes, this does mean that I'll have to re-record the entire walkthrough series I was working on to account for the new changes. Well, see you in 4 months!